Hello and welcome to Game Brigade. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be talking about a very special game. So if you're into role-playing, Dungeons and Dragons, or just tabletop RPGs, this is definitely going to be for you. So stay tuned. Okay, so welcome again. We are taking a look at Dungeon Universalis. This is currently available on Kickstarter, and we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign because they're doing something a little bit different. And I wanted to talk about this game before the end of the campaign to give people my thoughts and impressions on this. This is not going to be a review. This game is way too big, way too involved, and way too deep to give it the review with the amount of time that I've had with it. But I do want to share my thoughts about the system, my thoughts on what is being accomplished here by this independent studio who's really put in their love, blood, sweat, tears into a project to bring, from what my perspective could be, one of the most impressive dungeon crawling experiences and really a truly classic experience. My first endeavor in tabletop dungeon crawling was with the original Descent, and I loved it. I loved the grittiness, the difficultiness, the length of the experience, and it really reminded me of what the classic dungeon crawlers are. Nowadays, modern dungeon crawlers have removed a lot of the nuance and the difficulty in favor of more hands-on experience with enjoyable, easy, I would say player easy or player forgiving mechanics. Opening a door just reveals the next room. There's not as many skill checks or dexterity checks as you try to accomplish different things. Dungeon Universalis rejects those notions and says, I want to give you a deep, flourishing experience, allowing you to fully customize your character and play your character as you would play it if you were in real life, I would assume, if Dungeon and Crawlers were real life. But that is what's being accomplished here. So what does that mean? Well, I want to talk kind of top down because we're not going to dive into the nuances of this game. But Dungeon Universalis, basically, if I were to give you a top level overview, takes everything and breaks it down. There are multiple skill checks involved with multiple things involved in a skill check. For example, I want to open a door. Well, do I have keys? That might increase my dexterity, but if I'm wearing heavy armor, that might reduce my dexterity. So you're going to be having to check multiple things on your skill cards and your skill sheets as you perform a check, and then you must roll your dice to see if you accomplish it. Do you hit a 10 or more? It definitely does use these 2d6s for a lot of these skill checks. This is something that is very classic in dungeon crawlers. You don't see this much anymore, and it's just a basic example. If you want to shoot someone with your bow and arrow, well, not only is range involved, the type of cover you're in, the type of height of your target comparatively to you. There's so much involved with this, not just line of sight, but there's more variables. And if that is something that you feel like is something that you could really engross yourself with, Dungeon Universalis might be for you. But on top of that, this game is built not just as a dungeon crawling game with its own narrative campaign, which it does have. It's also a system which allows you to build your own experiences. It is basically like Dungeons and Dragons, the board game, if I could say it any simpler. You could build your entire new event. You can have your own scenario, your own monsters. You can use the entire bestiary that they give you access to. I mean, look at this. Where's the book? We have book 1. I mean, there's freaking 20 books, right? We have book 1 and book 2 for the creatures. So you have an idea of what does a bandit do? What are the skill checks? Who are you facing against? Let's see what else is in here. Here's a dragon or elementals. This book gives you all the information to be your own DM. And the system actually has the capability to be the dark player or have an AI dark player based on how you want to play. Do you want to have a person DMing to encourage the experience, or do you want to have the game system itself run it for you? The ability to create your own characters is also here. Not only are there pre-generated characters inside the game box that you can utilize that are easy, that have backstories for you to play with, you have this chart that you can build out just like playing Dungeons and Dragons. When I say that this is a Dungeons and Dragons board game, it's the closest I've seen in terms of an experience and a feel that I could say. What else is there to say? There's so much about this game. The deeply tactical combat is available. The customization. One thing that they touted, and I've not experienced this, I haven't done this, so to let you know, I'm only saying what the publisher has said and what the Kickstarter pages have said. But you are able to take a system from a different game, maybe an entirely different campaign. Maybe take the campaign from Massive Darkness 2. But Massive Darkness 2 is system, its gameplay mechanics, maybe they're not as deep or rich enough, but you want to experience its story. You could implement that over to this and utilize the Dungeon Universalis system within their gameplay, within their map models. It's incredible. So, with all that said, giving you this experience, letting you know that this is a hugely deep game, over 200 hours worth of content. What would I be saying if I were looking at the newest Kickstarter? Well, they have a few different options available, and I want to kind of break those down, maybe help you guys make a decision. Because here, what I have like the big box. I've got the tiles. I've got some of the miniatures over here. I've got a lot of the expansion cards that I haven't even broken open yet. There's so much. I haven't even broken these open yet. Still in the shrink. But they have taken this and said, we're going to offer a slimmed down version that might be better for players if that's for them. So for 85 euros or dollars, they have a slash. The euro and dollar is pretty much equivalent right now. You have the Dungeon Universalis core box. It's the 1.5 edition, which is basically going to include the cards that are available. And there's a ton of cards. I don't have my core box over here. A ton of cards for equipment, monsters to fight, everything. Character sheets. And then the books. It says it'll include 4 books. Now, I don't know specifically off the top of my head what books there are, but you can see I've got a lot of books. So let's see what I have. I've got the rule book. I've got the campaign and quest book. I got 2 of those. You got 2 campaign quest books. I've got the Bestiary 1 and 2, which we've already shown, and then there's another rule book. And then you have the basic rule book. I will say my thoughts on the basic rule book are not as high as I'd wish they'd be. It does get you the ability to get into the game and experience the system. But if you are new to mechanics, if you are new to dungeon crawlers, I think it could actually harm you. But the actual rule book here is over 100 pages. 118, 111 pages as they go through and explain the entire system. So yes, the basic rulebook shaves that down and teaches you a way to play the game at a basic level. You are removing a lot of the key components that make this game as rich it is. And when you eventually do complete and go into more complex rules, you might have backwards learning. Just a word of caution. So for $85, they've got the core box. That'll be available for you to be able to just play the game, have the system, but you're going to have your own minis, your own standees. It's just going to be pretty basic. For $125, though, they've got the Dungeon Universalis Classic. That'll be the 1.3 edition, or actually 1.3 edition on both, so I apologize for that, which includes tile set 1, standees 1. There was a million standees in my box. Again, I don't know what version these are going to come with, but there are a million standees. And they're basically from heroes, if you don't have the minis, to a bunch of different types of bandits or monsters and goblins, everything you can imagine. And then you're going to get some sort of tile sets. You can actually lay out the tiles and build your rooms based on the quest or campaign you want to play. Now, there is also an app with this game if you want to play, which I highly recommend, because if you want to play through the game and not want to spoil the rest of the dungeon, the app is the best way to do that, because you're not going to know what's going to occur. And to me, that is really important for me. And then they have the 225. I believe this is the one that I got, which is the Dun plus Tile Set 1, Standees 1, Encounters expansion, Bestiary 2, Campaign Quest Books 2, and the Bestiary cards 1. Miniature set and special book for heroes. So that, I believe that is what I have, because I've got the special book for heroes. So Lords of Dungeon Universalis is what I have. And then on top of that, they have a new challenges expansion, which is a brand new piece of content. It's a new expansion. I don't know if I necessarily would get that for myself. I'd be interested to check it out. But there's so much here that I haven't even dived into. As I said, I haven't even broken into this expansion yet. So I don't know. And then they have the Lord of Dungeoneers. It's basically the all-in for $343. You're going to get what I have here, plus all the new content. Again, if I were to recommend a game, this is a lifestyle game. Dungeon Universalis is a game that you could buy, and it could last you forever. It could be your one game you take on a desert island and can play repeatedly, new scenarios, new monsters, and it scales very well with the different types of amounts of players or creatures or whatever you want to do. It's a very, very enriching game. I highly recommend it, but again, it is intimidating, and I want to make sure I express that because in terms of all the dungeon crawlers I've seen or experienced, this is the one that I would highly recommend, but also put a warning on it. There's an asterisk there, and it says, not for the faint of heart. So hopefully that helps you guys. This is a great, incredible experience. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know in the comment section down below if this helped you make a decision. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.